Admiral Zektar's mandibles clicked in amusement as he observed the primitive craft approaching his fleet through the tactical display. The human vessel was a grotesque amalgamation of metal plates welded together with what appeared to be industrial adhesive and hope. Its hull bore scorch marks from atmospheric entry, and several sections seemed to be held together by what his tactical officer had identified as duct tape, a crude adhesive material the humans used for everything from spacecraft repairs to medical applications. They dare approach the hegemony's third fleet with that contraption? Zektar's voice carried across the bridge of the Sovereign's Wrath, his flagship and pride of the Calaxian Empire. Around him, his crew of seasoned warriors shared his disdain. The humans had been classified as a Class II primitive species, barely capable of crude spaceflight, still using chemical propulsion and kinetic weapons, while the galaxy had moved onto plasma drives and quantum disruptors millennia ago. The human ship, if it could even be called that, transmitted on primitive radio frequencies. The voice that crackled through their speakers was rough, unrefined, speaking in the barbaric tongue they called English. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth vessel Defiance. You have entered Sol system without authorization and ignored our hails. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." Zektar's laughter echoed through the bridge. Consequences. From them, he gestured dismissively at the tactical display showing his fleet. 12 dreadnoughts, 30 cruisers, and countless support vessels, the most advanced war machines in known space. Communications respond to these primitives. Tell them they have one solar rotation to surrender their planet, or we will take it by force. The human response came swiftly. Negative. This is our only warning. Leave now. Fascinating, mused Science Officer Veltara from her station. Their primitive minds cannot comprehend the technological gap between us. Should we demonstrate our superiority? Zektar nodded. Target their ship with a minimal plasma burst, just enough to disable their engines. We'll take their captain alive. The Empire's xenobiologists will want to study such defiant specimens. The Sovereign's Wrath's primary plasma cannon swiveled toward the human vessel, the weapon that could split a moon in half charged with barely 1% power, more than enough to cripple the primitive craft. The beam lanced out, a brilliant emerald streak across the void. It struck the human ship dead center, and did absolutely nothing. Veltara's secondary eyes widened in disbelief. Admiral, the plasma burst appears to have been absorbed? Impossible. Recalibrate sensors and fire again. The second blast yielded identical results. The human ship continued its approach, unperturbed, its crude engines somehow maintaining perfect course despite the assault that should have vaporized it. Sir. The tactical officer's voice carried an unfamiliar note of uncertainty. The human vessel it's not following any known physics. Their hull composition reads as primitive steel and titanium alloys, but it's dispersing our plasma like it's hitting a quantum mirror. Captain Chen's voice crackled through the comm again. We warned you. Defiance, initiate Protocol 7. What happened next would be discussed in military academies across the galaxy for generations to come. The human ship didn't fire weapons. It didn't launch missiles or deploy shields. Instead, it simply moved. Where moments before it had been, plodding along at a respectable but unremarkable velocity, the Defiance suddenly accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed. But this wasn't the smooth acceleration of advanced inertial dampeners. This was violent, impossible, as if the laws of physics had simply decided to look the other way. Evasive maneuvers, Zektar commanded, but it was too late. The human ship struck the Sovereign's Wrath amidships with the force of a relativistic projectile. But instead of the mutual annihilation that should have resulted, something extraordinary occurred. The human vessel passed through the Calaxian dreadnought, like it was made of paper, leaving a perfectly cylindrical hole in its wake. Emergency klaxons wailed across the bridge as atmospheric pressure dropped. Through the gaping wound in their ship, Zektar could see stars where there should have been bulkheads. Damage report, he gasped into his emergency respirator. Impossible. Reading, sir. The human somehow They phased through our molecular structure while maintaining perfect structural integrity. Our shields, our armor, our quantum barriers, they treated them like empty space. The Defiance had emerged from the other side of the flagship and was already bearing down on the next vessel in formation. In seconds, it punched through a heavy cruiser, then a destroyer, then another dreadnought. Each passage left the same: impossible wounds, clean holes that defied everything the Calaxians knew about physics. "How?" Veltara whispered. "How are they doing this?" Captain Chen's voice answered as if she'd heard the question. "You called us primitive, Admiral, but you never bothered to understand what that meant. While you perfected energy weapons and quantum shields, we perfected something else entirely. We learned to MacGyver our way through any problem the universe threw at us." The Defiance had destroyed half the fleet without firing a single shot. Ships that had conquered dozens of worlds were being taken apart by what appeared to be engineering. Impossibilities held together with determination and ingenuity. "Sir," the communications officer reported with trembling voice, "the humans are transmitting technical specifications. They're showing us how they did it." On the main screen, crude human schematics appeared. The diagrams looked like they'd been drawn by children, but the mathematics underlying them made Veltara's advanced brain hurt. Somehow, using nothing but scavenged materials and what they called duct tape physics, the humans had created a selective phase variance generator that could choose which universal forces to acknowledge and which to ignore. The carrier wave is propagated through a crystalline matrix made from crystallized caffeine, Veltara read in disbelief. And the quantum flux regulator is that a kitchen timer? Zektar watched in growing horror as the Defiance continued its rampage through his fleet. The greatest military force in the sector was being dismantled by a species that had somehow weaponized their own refusal to accept that things couldn't be done. "Admiral," his tactical officer reported, "remaining ships are requesting orders. Do we retreat?" For the first time in his military career, Admiral Zektar gave the order that would echo through Calaxian history. "All ships, withdraw from Sol system immediately. Mark this sector as diplomatically protected." As his remaining vessels limped away at maximum warp, Zektar couldn't shake the feeling that the galaxy had just changed forever. Somewhere behind them, a single human ship continued its patrol, held together by materials that cost less than a military ration, and operated by principles that made scientists weep. The humans weren't just primitive, they were something far more dangerous. They were creative.